Melissa, good to see you as well. Les, we got some information just specific for you. Thank you for asking. Hope it is what you're looking for. And hello, everybody. I'm happy to bring on our special guest this week. Paul, won't you come on down and join us, my friend?
Hey there.
So, Paul, we're going to be going through a session where you're going to actually kind of talk a little bit about who you are in your story. So instead of asking you to do like a huge intro, do me a favor, give us a unique, weird, strange fact about you, something that maybe even I don't know, and then we'll dive in for the day.
Ooh, that's a hard one. Um, well, not a strange one, but I'm a dad of a 7.5-month-old, so super stoked for that. Strange fact about me is when I was about 4, for some reason I didn't talk in preschool. So my teacher came home to my house to ask my parents if I was a mute, where for the first time she heard me say, "Hi, teacher," in Korean, and her jaw dropped, apparently. So one of my favorite stories to tell.
That's pretty good. You know, I know my mom will be able to help correct this one, but when I was younger, I thought it would be a really brilliant move to try to chew a hole through a wall. And I think it was pretty successful. So, but I digress. So we've got some good information. I'm going to jump in pretty quick today. And Angela, the question we were asking before, and I'm going to ask the same thing now to all the people live, Facebook, everywhere else. We just had a 3-day weekend. Hopefully you found a way to do something fun and relaxing with it. Tell us, what was it that you did? How did you have some enjoyment? We'd love to hear about that in the comments. So I'm going to get started right off the bat. This picture is one of my favorite of you and your wife. So quick industry news before we jump in. QuickBooks Desktop. How many people here specifically heard, well, hopefully you got the email about the changes that are happening pretty quickly here for QuickBooks Desktop pricing. So I wanted to kind of do some of a quick overview, give a little bit of a, my perspective of this whole thing and the important dates. This, of course, will be available through the PDF, the slide deck, everything else. We put all this onto the QB Community Live website, so you'll be able to grab this at any point in time, of course. Usually I get it up by Saturday, Sunday. So as of September 28th, so not too long away from now, QuickBooks Pro Advisors will have the ability to start to get the 2022 versions of QuickBooks Accountant, Desktop Plus, Enterprise, Desktop Mac Plus, so forth. The key thing is everything is now going, we knew it was coming. It's now all going to subscription based. Simple as that. Whether you are US based, Canadian based, it's all subscription based. And keep in mind, most of the world has been subscription based for a lot of this stuff for quite some time. On October 12th, that is when consumers will start to be able to get the 2022 versions of the product. And all of this stuff is, again, all subscription based. QuickBooks Desktop Plus, Enterprise, so forth. For us pro advice, how do I say this the right way? On December 10th, up to December 10th of 2021, they're extending the ability to purchase 2021 versions of QuickBooks Desktop as a one-time only purchase that will still have a traditional life cycle to them. But it will only be through like the QSPs and the Intuit sales agents, basically, and through your accounts and such. So I'm seeing happy belated birthday to Donna as well. So I want to say that to everybody that's blown up in the chat there. See, this is what I love about this community, right? It's just, you guys are awesome. You guys make my week. So thank you. Makes this stuff more exciting too. Pricing changes, pricing difference. So everything is now subscription based. For us accountants, this is kind of the key thing. So, Paul, I know you're primarily in the QuickBooks Online realm itself, but every year I pay for my Pro Advisor membership and I pay monthly. So I get copies of every single version of QuickBooks Desktop, which is how I can do a lot of my projects, my rebuilds, and help do this or that, so forth. This is fundamental to that. So there's a bit of pricing change to it. It's going to $4.99 for the Premier version, which means you're getting just the QuickBooks Accountant desktop version. The Mac version and the enterprise and point of sale is going up to $849. And Lynn is saying, I wish they would put the Mac version in the Premier bundle. I kind of agree. I feel like enterprise should be that next thing above and Mac would be different, but I guess you could also say, hey, at least they brought it back. So, because Mac was gone for a while. So these ones will now be going forward. It's all going to be subscription based. You do still have for QuickBooks Accountant Edition 2022, you can buy a license for $7.99. It's a one user license, which is kind of surprising to me. And it's supported through May of 2025. The reason that is, which I don't think anybody's really talked about this, sunsetting. So what happens here real quick is with Intuit, basically it's every 3 years, or I say 2.5 years, every May each year, they sunset an older version of QuickBooks Desktop. The ironic thing is it never really grabbed much attention until around 2016, 2017, because bank feeds kicked in around 2013. And that's when they would start to turn those off, and the payroll features and the merchant processing capabilities, all that stuff gets shut down. So what does it mean to sunset? Basically, it's when a software company is no longer providing technical support or offering patches or updates for the products, such as like when Windows 10 doesn't update and all of a sudden it doesn't work, QuickBooks doesn't work with that anymore. When does this happen? It's every May, and it's an automatic update. And I will tell you that I have done the legwork of trying to figure out if you've had yours update, can you uninstall, reinstall, and try to get around this whole thing and turn off the auto update? It's brutal. Intuit won't like me saying it this way. You better turn all the auto updates off ahead of time, never connect it to the internet again. And because if you ever have it auto update, you would have to be able to find another version that would be pre-update to be able to make it work. And you have to completely uninstall it, clearing out your registry, everything else, and geek out on it. It is what it is at that point. So when this happens, like I said before, QuickBooks bank feeds, the payroll processing and payroll updates, and merchant processing, all of that stuff gets shut off. The bank feeds is the one that really upsets me. I personally feel that should always be able to still work, but you cannot even import anything through the bank feeds anymore. It is shut off 100%. So I apologize for going through pretty quickly, but I wanted to at least give some extra insights, and I'd be more than happy to follow up with anybody afterwards. Les, I'm seeing your question here, which is, would it be a good idea to get QBD 2021 now, so they have 3 years before they have to start paying for a monthly subscription? My answer to that is yes. I think it is, because I think the pricing is going to continue to go up. I would also say, though, and I know some people are not going to like it this way, take a look. I mean, is it worth going to QuickBooks Online? Ultimately, fundamentally, 100%, the intent of this is, if they keep increasing this price, it's going to motivate people to QuickBooks Online. And you can't blame them, because it's costing them a lot more in development to keep two totally different platforms alive and functioning. So that's kind of where they're going, that direction. And James was asking, can you not import by IIF for banking transactions? James, it's a good question. When it's sunsetted, I haven't tried the IIF because it's not quite as reliable, but the banking center itself does not work. It gets shut off 100%. And I looked into it, obviously, because VendorSync, my app, requires that part. So that whole section gets shut down 100%. And I know a lot of people don't necessarily want to go to QBO. So yes, if you've got an environment where they're really desktop centric, it would be a good idea to buy 2021. We can help you get set up and connected to a QSP. I can help you get those things, that kind of stuff. Reach out if you need some assistance, of course. So I hope, Paul, you've got some great stuff today. So I kind of tried to rush through that. I hope that was quick enough to still give you some good opportunity. But our conversation today, I'm going to feed it back right over to you. It's all about earning your tribe, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And Go ahead.
So tell me about it.
I am an individual, and Matt sometimes pushes back on me for this because I sometimes may be self-deprecating, and there's a whole reason about that. If you want to hit on that point, Matt, you can ask me in a bit. But one of the things I've learned as not the smartest guy in the room, but the most social accountant that I've seen in the room, other than Matt, is the fact that you you shouldn't be trying to build any sort of business alone.
Amen.
And like the way I initially want to say it is you don't have to, and you shouldn't try to build your business alone because of the amount of work it takes. And entrepreneurship could be a very lonely road unless you have a tribe.
So I know we did a very quick shift there, and I just want to kind of say thank you for everybody who held on as we did this crazy car accident move over. But if you guys know me, you know to me, community is everything. Together we all succeed. It is such an important thing. And the way that I first got to meet Paul, I'm not going to say much of it, but his initiative and unwillingness to give up has led to the point where we're at today. And I've just been truly, truly amazed to see the things that he's done as he's building his practice, which were things I wish I had learned so much earlier. And the way he's going to tell his story through this stuff, I think will be pretty inspiring and motivational. And I would love for everybody, if you relate to it and such, please add comments in, because this is it's a real conversation. This is the real deal when we're trying to build a business. So I'm going to go back to the slideshow here and kind of bounce back and forth here as best I can for you, my friend. So.
So one of the biggest things that I've always appreciated about earning your tribe or finding your tribe, I think a tribe, at least my definition, there's no proper definition of this, is you truly find your tribe when you find a space where it's not you think, but you know that you're able to say, I don't know. Can you please help me? And it's safe. You won't get judged. No, and it's funny because as a CPA, I think sometimes people think that I know more than I do. And I think if people have seen some of my comments on the community life group, some of them are very basic. And honestly, sometimes I feel stupid for asking it. And it's Matt shaking his head. One of my professors always told me, if you have this question, there's at least 2 other people in the classroom that has that question. And so I'm grateful that you created a community where I feel safe to say, hey, this can be the simplest, most basic thing, but who knows the answers or who has suggestions? Because I have no idea.
As I always like to say, I may have been the one that helped turn the light switch on, but the community is actually who created the community itself. So in the comments, I'm sure each of us at some point in time have had a situation where we have asked a question, maybe we're concerned, and then other people like chimed in or following, or again, there is no such thing as a stupid question when you're trying to learn, especially if you're learning truly open-minded learning. Super, super important. So I commend you on that side of it. So I don't know, the next part of your journey here is how's life now?
And I want to preface this as this is not me trying to sound cocky, because you'll see the journey I went through. And part of it's the I don't know and I'm never alone, where has gotten me to where I am. So currently I'm working as a senior accountant on track path to be the assistant controller of a major startup company, telemedicine company, who literally went from 25 employees to about 117 in the last year. It's the first time, and I've worked at a several different places where I'm truly happy to show up to work, and I'm excited because of the people that I get to work with. We have, and by we, my wife, I wish she could be here, but she's literally upstairs taking care of the little one. We have a bookkeeping and accounting business where we have clients paying anywhere from $100 to $700 a month. And we just started our business in September of 2020. So it's now just a year old. We just signed another contract with a new client about last week, I think, Matt, you were there. We jumped on a call right after. I have another client or potential client of, he may have 3 or 4 franchise poke stores opening up in the area. So a pretty big business. We're at a point where we have to literally put clients on a wait list, which is what the community taught me. We're debt free. We have money in the bank. We're at a point where we're so nerdy that we've literally put all our financials and all our accounts into our QuickBooks accountant site so that we can have our own P&L sheets and our own balance sheets to know exactly how our life is financially. And lastly, I'm married to an amazing wife where I think, Matt, I definitely married up. And then we got the cutest little guy.
I'm not going to argue with you, but yeah. She paid me to say that. So I mean, I didn't actually learn this until just, I think it was last night or a couple nights ago, you told me this. And this just blew me away. So behind every great, there's no great movie where they talk about a comeback unless you had a point where you were just down and out and you were just struggling to get through it. And this is a part, again, that really relates and just, I think is so powerful for everybody because you just have to know not to give up. Homeless to business owner. Like, what does that, tell me about that.
So I actually grew up in a pretty rough background. And I'm not saying for all Korean Americans, but I think a lot of Korean Americans my age range can relate to is that we grew up in a very different social norm with our parents. And what ended up happening is my parents ended up going back to Korea on 4th of July of 2011, right after I graduated high school. And it wasn't that they ditched us. We had a family conversation. My brother and I said, the dynamic is so acidic. Go back to Korea. My brother and I will figure it out. I've never been the sharpest. I'm always the kid who asked the most amount of questions in class, to the point where at one point, the professor literally said, "Who understands what I'm talking about?" And about 90% of the class raised their hand. They said, "Leave. I got to answer this dude's question." So I was that guy doing all-nighters 2 weeks in advance for my accounting classes. Had to ask my wife when I took her to Korea when we were dating in college for money because I had $0 to my name. I took my American white girlfriend to a different country that she's never been and said, "I have no money to my name. Can you lend me some money?"
Wow.
And the last thing I can kind of share is like, I also come from, my parents were very successful artists. Okay. So we went from artists to like grocery store and blue collar, like career choices or businesses. And so I actually had the hardest time talking to people who had white collar jobs because I didn't know how to communicate. And I literally spent a year at school in the professional development department or building, learning everything I can from resumes to how to talk to people to get to where I am. So again, it was a community effort since the beginning. So
I'm sure you guys all can see why, again, this was such an important conversation. It's recognizing, as I've already said, the idea that you never know the background story that somebody else is struggling through or has had to deal with to get to the point where they're at today. And it's, we're not here to compare them, but it's just always to be kind at heart, to remember that you just may not know, and to remind yourself internally that if you just don't give up, you just don't. So how did you get here then?
It's very, very messy. It was super messy.
Yeah.
So in terms of specifically bookkeeping and accounting, how we got here is when my wife in 2020 told her employers that she was pregnant. She was the first and only person to be let go. And this is not a
Wow.
shot at her company. They just didn't have work for her to do. And so they just had to make that choice, which we were super excited about because she was literally crying to go to work because she didn't want to go. The environment was just physically demanding when she was pregnant and she was afraid for her child. So I always would ask her like, hey, you're the person who's very attentive to detail. You and I, Matt, our brains are a little scattered. We love, boom, we're more marketers than accountants. And I'm like, babe, you'd be an amazing accountant dash bookkeeper. Why don't we get you started in bookkeeping? And it was something we talk about. And when she got laid off and she was pregnant, I'm like, this is the time. And
Yep.
so I've had different businesses before where some would call it successful. I would say I never stuck with it. So they were unsuccessful in a lot of ways other than learning from them. And so I reached out to get sales. So that's something I'm a bit comfortable with, where we targeted people who were photographers because we had a photography business,
Okay.
who were looking for bookkeepers. Because as an accountant,
Something you're passionate about.
Right? Because as an accountant, that CPA, I thought I knew bookkeeping, which I had no idea. That led to tumble events. And I'm going to try to spitball this really fast. A photographer was looking for a new bookkeeper that was looking for someone that can pay hourly, got her business. And then she recommended her husband who has a legal firm. And then we earned his business. And then my neighbor's aunt started a business and she needed a bookkeeper. So we earned my friend's aunt's business, who referred us a nonprofit where they also became our client. I called a masseuse to buy my wife a massage for her birthday, and then ended up working in bookkeeping, sales tax, blah, blah, blah. And then she goes, I need a bookkeeper. Ended up getting her business, who ended up referring us one of our other biggest clients because she was looking for a new bookkeeper. And then there's only one person where they actually called through a website where they were looking. And so we're just doing their sales and use tax. And then our photographer friend turned back a few months later and said, hey, I have another friend who needs another bookkeeper who is more communicative. And then our best friends from Colorado just reached out to us, who's looking for a bookkeeper who has a landscaping company. I ended up talking to someone in the sauna. And guys, this is where
Talk about living your business, my friend. I mean, like,
right? I was in the sauna working, just relaxing after working out. Ended up talking to a guy about wanting to be a stay-at-home father and being more present because I'm a bit of a workaholic still. And he was talking about how he was a stay-at-home dad for 3 daughters, and now he owns a business, and that's the Poke Store restaurant. And he said, we're looking for another bookkeeper. And so one thing I also like to share is mouth open, store open. And that's something I've always lived.
I love that.
So, but if you go to the next slide, and this is where, go ahead.
Real quickly. So one of the things I'm hearing from this, and I wanted to ask everybody again, comment wise, where are I think most of us tend to get a good portion of our new business leads from referrals from current clients, right? I mean, those are the slam dunk closes, which are phenomenal. In the comments, is that true for you, or where are you finding most of your clients are coming from? Would love to hear from everybody how they're finding them. And back to you.
So, when I said, and Miss Dunham, that's awesome. Missy Dunham, that's awesome. Yeah, all referrals. And I was cocky where some of my friends who are business owners, and you and I talked very briefly, I think at this, I don't think we did it yet, but some people had told me, hey, it's not good to grow too quick. It's actually very dangerous. And if you go to the next slide, I was scared shirtless. Or actually, sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. I was
Yep.
scared
Scared
shirtless.
shirtless. I love that.
As a parent, I default to a show called The Good Place, where they replace all profanity words with other words. So this is not a typo.
I love it.
But I might as well have been scared shitless. I literally sent my wife off to go spend time with her friends in Arizona and go hiking so I can work 100 hours and not feel guilty. Because I literally woke up, worked, didn't get much sleep, and then worked all day, all night, right after my 40 hours a week job. And I was like, I need help so bad. And asking for help is something I've learned, as you guys kind of heard in the previous part about the professional development department, where I just started researching everywhere and anywhere. I looked on Google, I looked on Facebook, I was calling friends. The next slide kind of shares a real life, it shows it versus tells it.
You are of the SpongeBob generation, aren't you?
Yeah. I literally posted this, and you can see September 30th. And
Look at
so
that.
this is not me just saying it. About a month in, I had too many clients because I'm very good at connecting with people, or so I like to think. And I got too much work, and I overestimated myself and underestimated the work. And I was scared.
Yeah.
So that's how I started, a complete crapshoot.
So, that basically you at this point, how many clients did you have when you posted that? Like, what do you think the number of clients were?
I think I had about 4 or 5 clients,
Okay.
ranging.
I was
Go
gonna say,
ahead.
do you mind me asking, like, roughly what the revenue was? Do you think monthly wise that was generating at that point?
My first 2 clients, and we did this strategically, we were only charging about $25 an hour.
Okay.
And we marketed it as saying, hey, we're looking for people to be our first clients. We will make mistakes. This is a learning price. Because when I looked at
Interesting.
prices for CPA and such, the price was significantly higher.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got the photographer and her husband, which are some of our best customers as of date. And not in terms of revenue, but in terms of the relationship we have. And then we had another where we charged 30, and then we charged another one 45. And then someone at that point, I think we had one person that was paying monthly of 400.
Okay.
And so it was a decent amount of revenue for a quote unquote side hustle for the first month of business.
Which is great. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to the same thing. I mean, I remember when I first started with Parkway, we were doing at one point in time an $89 a month package, $89 a month. And so I'm sure like we've all gone through it, and it's such a crazy thing. It's just almost it's a rite of I say it's almost like a rite of passage that even if we can teach others about the error of the ways with that, you almost have to go through it because it actually builds a certain like callus to you to help you become more successful further down the road, I think. Um, it's
And
it's tough, right?
one thing I want to add to that point as well.
Yeah.
I'm a motivation junkie. I love listening to people like Les Brown, Tony Robbins, etc. I try to learn from people who are smarter than myself. And Tony Robbins said something amazing that stuck with me, where he has his hands in many pockets. But the
Mm-hmm.
first thing he did was he said, start one business, or in this case, have a few clients who is your bread and butter, your meat and potatoes. It'll never be the sexiest. It will not be the most profitable, but it will always be there. And so the
Well said.
mentality that, thank you. And once you start expanding out, you keep those people because they're the one who supported you and trusted you and invested in you.
Yep.
And you treat them like your top clients, like you do with everyone else. And that has returned back. I can't say how many referrals it's given back. So just a plug for that.
It sounds like you had to earn it.
Yeah, I really had to earn it. John Maxwell says, if you're asking for guidance and mentorship, be ready for it. If the perfect mentor comes and starts giving you guidance and you're not ready to put in the time or the emotional effort, they will walk away and you will lose that opportunity.
Yeah.
And I want people to understand, it's not be ready in terms of your skill set. It's more in terms of be ready in your grit to listen.
Yep.
Great point. There's that analogy. A martial artist came to Bruce Lee to ask Bruce Lee to teach him how to do martial arts. And Bruce Lee just poured a bunch of water in a teacup and it started overfilling. And the martial artist like, and this is an analogy, like, I don't know what the true story is, but then the teacup started overfilling and the guy was like, Bruce Lee, like the water's filling up, like it's already full. And he goes, that's exactly how your mind is. If your mind is already full, there's nothing for me to, I can't fill your cup. And so
Wow.
I had to learn as a talker how to shut up and listen.
Okay.
I also had to learn how to be pleasantly persistent.
Yes. You mastered it.
I did.
Yes.
Fun story. My wife now, I was not on her radar as a candidate for dating. And in the first 3 months, she rejected me 3 times and dumped me twice. And so I had to learn how to be pleasantly, not creepily persistent, where I was adding value, but
I love what you're doing here. I love this. Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I had to do with you. I messaged you several times. And you're not the only one. The first one thing I love about the community live group is it's the only group, not on just Facebook, but anywhere there's a mentorship section. And I literally went to that mentorship section and I just started messaging everyone. And then you can even see right here, all the questions I posted. And I followed up with, I hope everyone, if I didn't, I apologize, thanking them for responding, thanking them or responding with my own answer that I found, just to make sure I closed the loop to say, hey guys, thanks for your time. Thanks for your effort. And I want to show whoever invested their time in me that I took it seriously and that I did one of 2 things. Number 1, I executed and I followed up to say, this is how it worked out. Or number 2, I would say I did not execute it because of A, B, and C. And what are your perspective around that?
I like that. I will say, so this basically is the kind of the point in time where our paths become and cross. And Paul had reached out, as many people hopefully in the industry recognize that where I can, if I can try to help, I will always try to offer some time, jump onto a Zoom, do what I can, try to help and help people out. So we connect. I don't know if we connected right away, but basically you'd asked if I would be able to help mentor, and surprise, surprise, with so much stuff going on, I kind of said, right at this time, I don't really have a free time, but if you'd be willing to do more of a group type session, if you'd be willing to do that, I'm going to try to set something of that nature. But you kept following up and following up and following up and following up to where in my mind, you earned that right. It was you were sincere about your desire to learn. And to me, I will always try to make time for that. Always. Because that's what people have done for me. So that persistence is what made it for us, made it possible.
Right. The other thing I want to point out is like I said, it's the thought, right?
Yeah.
Sending $5, $10 Starbucks gift cards, or to people who work too much, I like to send vitamins because I'm like, I need you healthy.
Keep talking. Hold on.
And $5, $10 or whatever you can send may not make an impact on the other person's life. Nice.
These ones are empty, by the way.
I'll have to send you a new one.
Yeah.
But it's the thought, right? There's been times where I didn't have money, but I would send $5 or $10 back then, where it actually had to be a physical gift card. And I think it's a thought that really makes a difference of like, wow,
Yes.
this person appreciated it. And I encourage people, send somehow a thank you card, something to just express your gratitude.
It's, you know, I'm sure a lot of people in our community are the exact same way. I never, like, when I try to help people, I never do it with any expectation, zero whatsoever. I think that's the purest way to always do it. But it is appreciated. And it's always great when that random thing comes in. It just could brighten somebody's day.
Yeah.
It just can make a big difference. So now, you were not always great at asking for help, right?
Yep. I was not. Well, yes and no. I was in a mix where my dad was a carpenter, and he would pay me $50 a day to during the summers to go and help him. But the people who could afford my father always were of upper middle class or the higher class. And so my dad would still pay me if I was asking those people, how the heck did you get this? And so from that point, my dad taught me, like, learn from the wisdom of people who have fruit on the tree. Society has taught me, you're a man, don't cry, figure it out.
Yeah.
And it was so contradicting. I didn't know how to ask for help. And for me, like, I was fortunate where I got connected to the right group of entrepreneurs who connected me to a group called Worldwide, it's an e-commerce dash. It teaches mentorship. And I got to connect with people who's been in my life for the last 5-10 years, just learning about how to ask questions. And my business partner, who is old enough to be my dad and who's a grandparent, asked me the question, hey, do you respect Oprah? I was like, yeah. Do you think you're better than Oprah? I was like, no. He goes,
You get a car. Sorry.
you get it. One day that would be great. But he asked me the question of, if Oprah has a psychologist, if Oprah has had mentors, if Oprah has asked for help, and you look up to Oprah, why the heck can't you do what she's done and ask for help? Are you better than Oprah? Right? I'm just like,
that's an aha moment right there. That really is.
Right. And I mean, everyone, John Maxwell's had mentors. Tony Robbins has had mentors. You've had mentors.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
everyone, right? Everyone who's accomplished things that I look up to, who doesn't have just money, but a holistic lifestyle, has had someone they can go to, whether they officially called them mentors or not. They still had mentors.
I find the best mentors, and I've said this numerous times, the best mentors, you don't realize they were your mentor until after the fact.
Yeah.
So this leads us towards our conclusion here of this conversation. I guess what I'd love to ask you as we proceed forward is, if there was one bit of advice that you could give to other community members who have now heard more of your story about your family growing up, your family moving back, you going from homeless to, going through school, working your way through these different roles, now owning your own company, and also working full time in a position at the exact same time as you're also growing your family. Like, what's that nugget of wisdom you would share with everybody?
I think, and this is going to be a bit controversial, but I never really enjoyed the saying, fake it till you make it. I think it's a very dangerous thing.
I like that.
And so, and I hope my story is enough to let everyone know that whether you, no matter what background, how smart you think you are, how dumb you think you are, how energetic, how my wife is the opposite, where she's more of an introvert. Like, it doesn't matter about the personality. Like, anyone can do it as long as they have the willingness and the grit. And if you gotta find, personally, I believe you gotta find a tribe and earn it so that you can say, I don't know, with confidence, whether it's to each other or even to your client, because you have the confidence that, although I'll use myself as an example. There's many times I tell my clients, I don't know, but I know people who do, that I can work with, where I can figure it out. And
I still do it all the time.
All the time, right? And this is including my $700 clients, where I'm like, I don't know the answer to that. And I don't want to give you a bullcrap answer. Let me go ask people who are smarter than me in that field, and I'll come back to you. And then they appreciate the vulnerability and genuineness. And they also appreciate the fact that they're getting accurate information because you took the time to go and ask versus just fake it. And then it harms everyone in the back end.
Yeah. I truly, truly appreciate you coming on today and sharing your story. I hope it did actually help inspire and motivate others. I always say that anybody who wants to come up and would like to join me as a guest host, this is what I'm talking about. It's these little bits of stories where we share the ins and outs, the lessons we've learned that fundamentally help build us in a stronger core, is the best way I can say it. It truly is. Together we all succeed. So thank you so much. Any last words to everybody? You've got a lot of love coming through the chat. If you guys love this, let me know in the chat. I appreciate it. Like Larry's saying, true grit.
Thank you.
True grit.
My pleasure. And I want to end off by saying I'm truly grateful for everyone for showing up, being supportive. Yep. I'm grateful for you. This really is one of the best communities I've ever been a part of, and I've been part of many.
Thank you. That's everybody. So we're gonna close it down here real quick here as we talk about some exciting things that are coming up. But for anybody who wishes to reach out to Paul, here is his email address. Of course, I will have all his contact information on the website with this episode when that goes up as well, of course. And I'm really excited to quick reminder to everybody else about beta testers for bookkeep.com. But I'm really excited to remind everybody that starting next week, we're going to have a great guest on. Ingrid Edstrom is going to be joining us for Scaling New Heights sneak peek. Now, here's the cool stuff, everybody. I've been working behind the scenes with Woodard to try to build out a way for us to kind of hype up and build out the time until we get to Scaling New Heights. And I'm going to be bringing on each week from now through October, different presenters and vendors, specifically presenters that will be able to kind of introduce you to some of the stuff they'll be teaching at these sessions. And for people that register and attend, we will actually be giving away a ticket for Scaling New Heights as well. They give away anybody who attends through these sessions up to, I think it's going to be on the 30th will be the actual giveaway. But as you attend the first one through those, you'll be entered in and somebody will be able to get a free ticket for Scaling New Heights this year. So it's one of my ways to try to contribute again and give back to this group. I firmly believe in the importance of going to build community, continuing to learn, do whatever you can from that side to improve yourself. So we've got some really amazing stuff coming up over the next couple of weeks, and I hope you guys will all continue to join us. Paul, thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Everybody, here's wishing you all a very successful week.